Good morning, YouTube. It's Friday morning. I just wanted to put this second podcast out today just to talk about something that I've been pondering for a very long time. The thing I've been pondering is I know in my last podcast I mentioned how having no friends due to the fact that you're highly sensitive and you're able to quickly and easily eventually pick up on the inconsistencies and the shortcomings and you know the incapabilities of people, and that's just kind of what I want to talk about in this podcast. I want to expand a little bit on if being a chosen one can have a lot of disadvantages. I know when you hear chosen ones, you automatically think, "Oh my goodness, this person is connected to God. God is this person's friend. This person hears from God." And yes, absolutely, those things are true. Yes, we are very, very connected to God, but we still have to live on this earth. We still have to associate with people. Our connectedness to God is not something that you walk around and brag about. Trust me, it's not. So the chosen ones are, if you think about the chosen ones, think of Jesus too, right? Jesus was definitely a chosen one, absolutely, right? But he was a carpenter. He was not very wealthy. He did not, you know what I mean? Like, those how God's chosen ones look. They look like regular people. And not only regular people, they look like, nah, that person can't be chosen. Nah, look at that person. Look how they talk. Look how they dress. Look at, the way they carry themselves. There's nothing special about that person. They're just weird. And it's funny. Not funny, but I find that because I was a Christian for 8 years. So I've studied the Bible, I've learned the Bible, and I know a lot about the Bible. So I can say in the Bible, the people that God chose, they were almost like the least expected person to be carrying on a mission for God. You know what I mean? And now as a 40 something year old woman, I'm like, wow, I do, you know what I mean? It's almost as if you get the revelation of what you've been living after you've lived it. I'm like, wow, I've always been a very simple person. I've never been extraordinary, by human terms, right? Like, if you think, I mean, if you've met me, you would be like, oh my God, this is the most normal person I've ever met. Like, there is nothing physically special about me. But that's how God operates. He's never, because the Bible says how God will use, you know, the plain and the least accepted person as the person to carry his mission. So I think that's part of where the curse comes from too. I think I know God does that for a reason, and I kind of like it because for me personally, I can do my thing under the radar. You know what I mean? And I think that is what God was thinking when he chooses his people. Who's not into the limelight? Like, trust me, you will never hear a chosen one, talking about, oh my God, I'm so this and I'm so that. I mean, I've been living this life for a long time. I'm not saying I'm done with my mission. I don't think I'm completely done, but I think I've done enough to where God has allowed me to talk about it. I feel like God has been wanting me to talk about it for like 3 years now. And sometimes that's part of it because God is not, you might not hear an audible voice that's going to say, Nicole, I need you to speak about what you've gone through, what you've learned, what you've overcome, what you've elevated above. It's almost like, okay, you have mastered this, Nicole, now talk about it. So like, I find that's how God operates with me is like once I've mastered something and elevated out of above it, then he'll reveal what it was to me. Like when I learned that I was an INFJ, for example, it was like way after I was like in my 30s at this point. I was like, oh my goodness. It's almost like we have this information been my entire life. And when it was like, oh, Nicole, by the way, you have a twin flame. Oh my God. So this is like years ago. And it's like after I went through so much stuff with my twin flame journey, which at the time, you don't know anything about twin flames. I never even seen the word twin flame. But once I was out of the twin flame journey, it was like God was like, by the way, you're a twin flame, Nicole. Okay, so this kind of explains all the chaos and insanity that comes along with what you've been through. By the way, there's a name for it. This is the name, by the way. So I find that for me to talk about something is only after I've been revealed what it was and that I have been living it. So to being the chosen one, like, because like I'm making this video and the podcast right now, and I'm thinking like, what if I'm like telling someone something before they're supposed to know it, Because sometimes I'm like, what if they're not supposed to know they're chosen until a certain time? And my answer to that is, you don't have to worry about that. Trust me, God is so freaking amazing. You will never see anything that you're not supposed to see. You will never see it. You know what I mean? And then if you even see it, it'll be like, nope, I'm not into that. It's like you will, like, that's what happened to me, right? Like, short story. I was on, like I said, I was a Christian for 8 years, right? I was a Christian for 8 years. And as a Christian, you really don't, mingle with a lot of the spiritual terms and the metaphysical things, because a lot of Christian believers don't believe in like astrology. They do not believe in metaphysical stuff. They don't believe in like the woo-woo stuff. A lot of it they don't. So as a Christian, I was believing in, the Bible. I believed in, I do believe in the Bible. I do believe in Jesus. I believe in God, the Holy Ghost. I believe in all of that. But it was like the time that I saw the term twin flame, I immediately was like, oh, no. Oh, like I turned away from it. I seen it maybe like 6 months before I actually was revealed to it. It's like I turned away from it. Like this was maybe like 2 years ago in 2019 or something. Like I turned away. I saw it. Like I think I was on YouTube and I saw it, like a video or something about it, and I brushed past it because I'm like, oh no, that is definitely not biblical. We do not believe in that. You know what I mean? So like months later, and I was going through something very personal in my life, and I was really seeking for answers. I was feeling at the end of myself, as many chosen people do. Because sometimes when you've done what you've been called and chosen to do, it's almost like you become bored with where you were placed. You know what I mean? To make the difference. So it was like, I'm kind of bored, God. It was like God was like, okay, she's finished and she's getting bored. Like that's how I know when I'm finished with something, because it feels like all of a sudden you lose interest in it. Like all these years I've been going to church, I've been showing up 3 times a week, I've been doing my thing spiritually, religiously, and now like 7.5 years later, it's like, wow, I'm really bored, you know. And trust me, when I do something, when God places me somewhere to be, like I give it my all. I give it 1,010% of myself. You know what I mean? Like I give everything. I go all in. I'm all in. If anyone knows me, they can tell you Nicole is all in everything she does. If she's not giving her all, she ain't doing it. I'm definitely that all or nothing person. Hands down, I'm all or nothing. So I was all in my Christian season. And like at the end of it, like the last 6 months to a year, is like I felt like I was finished already. Like I no longer needed to be there. I swear I can tell you, it felt like I woke up one day and it was like, why do I want to go to church? Why? I mean, it was almost as if God has like lifted you know. Like, I kind of like to believe how God will place me somewhere. He will endow me with the gifts I need to do what I need to do while I'm there. You know what I mean? He will give me the desires. He will give me the endurance. That's a big thing that you will need as a chosen one. Endurance. You will need endurance. Endurance is your best friend. I find that if you could do something in a good spirit, the way you need to have the spirit to do what you need to do for the season you're in, what you're doing, it is going to make a huge difference. So for me, I had the endurance. I was up, I was in it, I was happy, I was grateful, I was putting myself through it. I was studying the Bible, I was reading the Bible, I was praying, I was doing everything in my season of Christianity. I was doing everything. But then at the end of it, it was like, it's like God took off. It's like he took off everything that he gave me to keep me up with it. It was like I no longer had it. And you know how they say you can't do really anything without God? It's like that is the absolute truth. That's the absolute truth. I promise you. There's another podcast I'm going to make where it just happened on my job the same way. I'm going to talk about that in another podcast because it's a little longer, because I've been on that job for 5 years. So I'm not going to talk about it here, but I'll do another podcast on how it showed up in my job the same way it did in my Christian experience. And I can tell you for a fact that when God says, okay, you've done what I needed you to do here, because when you're chosen, you really don't get to pick what you do. You really don't. I'm telling you, you really don't. If the chosen ones really look back over their lives, they're gonna see how it was like, it might feel like you chose that, but to be honest, you were placed there. You were placed there. Because chosen ones, it's like if you look at all the things that the world that's trending right now, like you're not even interested in that. Why would you not be interested in what's going on in the trends of the world? Because it's like you already know at this point that it doesn't matter if it does not matter if you're part of the trends, because if it's not your mission, you're not going to have interest, and God is not going to back it up. That's where that saying comes from. You can't do anything without God, because if God is not backing you up, you're not going to succeed. You're going to start and then you're going to stop. A lot of things I've done under the guidance of God, I've done it for a very long time. Like, it'd be years and years and years and years. You know what I mean? So it's like once God removes his hand, in a way to say it, I guess. It's like once God removes his hand, it's like I'm all by myself. I'm all alone, and it's like shit. Personally, I didn't like it. Like, I didn't want to do it anymore. So right at the end of that, it was like God was like, okay, Nicole, I'm gonna release the shackles. That's how it felt. It felt like the shackles were broken and I was free. Ear bunnies, ear quotes. I was free, to do what I wanted, So it's kind of like that's how it felt. Like every time that happens, that's why I always feel like being chosen is a curse. Because it's like once you're in it, you feel like that was your decision. You made the choice. You're working hard. You're putting in all the effort. You know what I mean? It makes you feel like you're doing it. But in actuality, is God has given you. It's that he has covered you in everything you're going to need to be amazing in this thing. And then when it's over, it's like everything gets lifted and it's like you can't do nothing. It's like you're antisocial, right? You're mean, I become judgmental. I'm like, I'm judging people, I'm criticizing people, and I'm like, what happened to who I was 2 months ago when I was, you know what I mean? And that's how I've learned. That's how I say when you're chosen, it's all about a feeling. It's all about your intuition. It's all about your inner self, because that's the only way you get through this journey. That's the only way, because God is not going to show up in your bedroom and sit on your bed with you and talk to you. That's never going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So I say, for me, I don't think of it as a curse, because to me it's been a very good journey. I don't, I know my journey is not complete yet, but I'm at a good place in my journey. It's like I understand it a lot more, so I kind of navigate through it a lot easier than I used to. Like, there's a lot less kicking and screaming. There's a lot less getting mopped by the enemy. There's a lot less, it's like my soul is not yelling at me every 6 months anymore. It's almost like, okay, I know what's required of me. I understand what my soul wants to get through this cycle. I understand. So I find it a little bit more exciting than I did in my teens, in my early 20s, in my mid, even my mid 30s. I'm telling you, I've just really gotten a handle on a lot of this in the last 6, 7 years. So I'm really new to being, under the title of being chosen. So to me, I don't think it's a curse. The only thing I say is a curse is that the only downside I will say to this, and this is like a little personal thing I'm going to say, is that I feel that the only thing that really hurts me about the curse side of this is that I meet people, like God will place me somewhere, and I'll go through the whole cycle of it, and then I'll fall like head over heels crazy about people, certain people, right? And then it's like, okay, Nicole, this is how, God communicate, right? Okay, Nicole, you're done here. At that point, God has lifted all the gifts He gave me. He removed his, He basically said, okay, we're finished here. You don't need to be here anymore. So what I'll do is I'm gonna make you very uncomfortable and make you want to leave because you're not gonna be happy. That's usually how it feels. But then I usually always find one or two people that I really, really connected with. And then it's like, oh no, I'm going to leave these people because I know God is going to put me somewhere else. He's going to move me. I'm no longer going to be needed here. I'm going to have done what He wanted me to do while I was here, or for me to even learn what I have to learn for my own personal journey. So it's either God wants you to do something for Him or He needs you to learn something. So it is like a lesson learned, or it's almost like mission work, almost something to that effect. But either way, I'm going to either eventually learn it, whether it take months, weeks, or years. I'm going to stay until I learn it, or He's going to have me interact with a certain set of people He wants me to connect with for Him. So once one or two of those things have happened and is successful, I'm gonna get taken away. He's gonna take me away and He's gonna put me somewhere else. That's how it is when you're working for God. It's like you're here for a season, then you gotta go somewhere else and do a whole new thing. So at the end of my season, it's like I get a little sad because it's like, shucks, I know I might never see these people again. The people that I did connect with, the people that I did, help. The one that God did bring me to help and show love to. It's usually always love that God is sending me to give. It's usually always love. That's how God is. God is love. Everyone knows that, but it's always love that He's, you know what I mean, that He's pushing through me, love. So okay, I'm gonna close it out here, but I will say this: being chosen has, like anything you have in this world, is gonna have a good side and it's gonna be a bad side. And for me, I love all the good things. Of course, I think we all do, right? But then the bad side, the cursed part of me, is that I always feel sad when it's time to move on, because I do connect with some people and I do get sad when I can't see them anymore and I don't get to talk to them anymore. Because to be honest, when you go into your next mission, your next set of learning to do, it may be completely different, and you will sometimes not even be able to be in touch with the people who you were connected with, because in your next mission it may require a different side of you. You know what I mean? And this is going to be another podcast for this topic I've just mentioned, but yeah, so that's just my interpretation of being a chosen one. Is it a curse? I don't know, but I love it, and I would never change my life for a million blessings, if that, you know what I mean. So I'll take the curses, I'll take it, and I'll just keep learning and keep pushing myself. And if you have any questions or any comments, please leave them down in the comment section. I will answer any questions, and I'll see you in the next podcast. I'm not sure what the next podcast is going to be. But it should be maybe next week. So enjoy your weekend. Bye.